Thank you very much, Joe. I'll just check in on Rudy. Anybody heard from him today by any chance?
Just a text message only, but
Yeah.
not about the meeting. Alma, can you put the agenda on?
I'm
Or
sharing
whatever,
the screen.
or whatever slide Miss Noble needs so she can get the meeting going?
Yeah.
That one's helpful, but I think I know it. We can call the meeting to order, and then very shortly we will need the Pledge of Allegiance in English and in Spanish. We'll do that, followed by the Acknowledgement of Tribal Land. Is anybody feeling inspired? I'm happy to do this today.
I feel inspired today.
All right.
I can do both or one. Do you want me to do the pledge and then you can do the salute?
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
You bet. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Juro fidelidad a la bandera de los Estados Unidos de América y a la república que representa una nación bajo Dios, indivisible, con libertad y justicia para todos.
And the salute to the New Mexico flag. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico, the Zia symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures. Saludo la bandera del Estado de Nuevo México, el símbolo Zia de amistad perfecta entre culturas unidas. And the acknowledgement of tribal land. We acknowledge the original people of the land, the Tesuque Pueblo people and other tribal nations, and ask them to walk with us today as we share and learn together. Thank you all very much. Moving on to approval of the agenda. Dr. Garcia, is everything good to go? Any changes?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we might have a motion.
I move to approve the agenda as it is. This is Sarah.
Okay, thank you. You're muted, Dr. Gonzalez. I think we need to hear you.
I second.
Oh, Vice President Price seconded. Thank you very much. We'll do a roll call vote. Vice President Price,
Yes.
Secretary Garcia is not here at this stage. He says he's on the way. Dr. Gonzalez,
Yes.
Board Member Bozé,
Yes.
and the President votes yes. We have approved the agenda. Now it is time for going into our executive session. In Secretary Garcia's absence, does anybody feel inspired to make this motion?
I'll go ahead and move that we move into an executive session where we're going to discuss collective bargaining, the 2020-2021 National Education Association of Santa Fe and Santa Fe Public Schools Collective Bargaining Agreement, and the 2020 and 2021 Santa Fe Federation of School Employees and Santa Fe Public Schools Collective Bargaining Agreement.
Thank you, Dr. Gonzalez. I'll second that, and we'll do a roll call vote. Again, Vice President Price,
Yes.
Dr. Gonzalez,
Yes.
Board Member Bozé,
Yes.
and the President votes yes. We are now going into executive session. We will be back on this channel for the rest of our regular board meeting right around 5:30. See the rest of you in the other place.
Hi, whose number is the 690-3341? This is Alma.
Hey, Alma, this is Robert with Business Services. This is my personal cell phone. None of my other stuff.
Robert, you always want to
Are they an
trick me,
executive?
okay?
I know. I'm calling in on a new number every time.
I know, I thought I got it memorized, the other one. Okay, let me put your name. Thank you.
Oh, that's my district phone is 84. My personal is 41.
Okay, thank you.
Are they an executive?
Yeah, they're still an executive. They'll probably come out in like a few minutes.
Perfect. Okay, I was going to tell you it was Dion's and ask you if you wanted pepperoni or cheese.
Okay, we're live.
Oh, great. Just kidding.
Yeah.
President Noble, have you heard from Dr. Garcia?
I have not. I was going to ask you the same thing.
I have. She's got
Oh, I did hear from her.
feeling well, so I'm at this point going to take over.
Okay.
I'm certainly not the superintendent and haven't gotten ready for this, so I'll do the best I can.
Okay. We will be gentle, I promise. Okay, and I don't think we're going to have Secretary Garcia. So, you know, it's the first day of school and month 5. If we
Okay.
can't be gentle with ourselves and each other now, I don't know what we do. So, okay, I think, let's see, we have Dr. Gonzalez. Is Vice President Price with us? Not yet.
Do you still have on your screen currently an executive session? My screen is still white with currently an executive session.
Yeah, and I believe either Alma or Dr. Ryan or someone with some.
I'll move it. I do see Lorraine Price there. I don't know why. Vice President Price?
I see her now. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's muted.
Can
There
you
we
hear
go.
me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Okay, and Sarah is joining. Board Member Bose and Dr. Gonzalez is here. So, Dr. Gonzalez,
So we
if
need to,
you want to bring us back from executive session as you made the motion to go into.
Sure. I'd like to move that we come out of executive session where we discuss collective bargaining, the 2020 and the 2021 National Educational Association of Santa Fe and Santa Fe Public Schools collective bargaining agreement, and 2020-2021 Santa Fe Federation of School Employees and Santa Fe Public Schools collective bargaining agreement. And there was no decisions made.
No action taken.
Action taken, thank you. Couldn't remember what it was.
You did very well. I'll second that motion. We'll do a roll call vote coming back from executive session. Vice President Price,
yes.
Dr. Gonzalez,
Yes,
Board Member Bose,
Yes,
and the president votes yes. And we don't anticipate having Secretary Garcia this evening. So moving on the agenda. Is there someone who is available to do the introduction of the interpreter?
James, are you available?
This is Herman. I can do it if needed.
Thank you. I'd appreciate that.
Buenas tardes, Presidente Novo, miembros de la Junta Escolar y Assistant Superintendente Linda Sink. Para todos los que ocupan intérprete o servicios de traducción, por favor marquen 701-802-5152 con el número de acceso 4277932 y por favor mantengan su teléfono en silencio durante la traducción. De nuevo, si ocupan traducción, marquen el número 701-802-5152 con el número de código 4277932.
Thank you very much, Mr. Martinez. Appreciate it. Moving on to Roman numeral 4 on our agenda, the union update. Is Grace Mayer with us? I am not seeing her. Okay, well, let's go ahead and move on. And if if Grace comes and wants to do a union update, we can have that a little bit later on the agenda. Moving on to Roman numeral 5 on the agenda, public forum. Dr. Ryan, is this your arena this evening?
Board President Noble, if you could give me a minute, I forgot to check to see if we had it. This isn't my usual duty, so if you'll give me a minute, I'll log into
please.
that account.
Go ahead. For anybody watching on YouTube, the public forum rules are on the screen. Some of them are life lessons. Be respectful. No uncivil conduct will be permitted.
President Noble, is the next agenda item, if you can give me, I don't want to have everybody wait while I frantically try to log in and get that access, but if you can give me, it's going to take me a couple minutes.
Okay.
I apologize
worries.
for that.
Seeing no objections from the board, we're going to be nice and flexible. As we know, Dr. Garcia is not feeling well, and it's the first day of school and lots of things. Board announcements and follow-up. Are there any board announcements and follow-up this evening? I mean, at this rate, we're just blazing through our agenda. Okay, what is next on the agenda? Given that there are no board announcements and follow-ups, and I'm trying to find it elsewhere so I can pull it up, but thank you, Alma.
So there's quite a few superintendent announcements.
Well, that sounds like a good place for us to go, assuming that you have some notes on that.
I
Ms.
do.
Sink? All right, thank you very much. Go ahead.
So President Noble, members of the board, on the superintendent announcements, kindergarten enrollment, current kindergarten enrollment is at 669. The projected enrollment is 853. There are 42 kindergartens in the registration process, which could bring the total to 722. Important to note, the birth count in Santa Fe County 5 years ago, 2015, was the lowest in the last 8 years. And of course, this is impacting a lower kindergarten enrollment. The next is on outdoor space. Some Santa Fe public schools lend themselves readily to outdoor learning and have outdoor areas that can be utilized for this. We anticipate working with individual schools to support any outdoor programs once school opens. Currently, we're providing supplies to expand options, including purchasing structures for meals and classrooms. Santa Fe Public Schools will encourage everyone to eat outside or open doors to their cafeterias during meal times. 8 Mandela International Magnet School students earn prestigious International Baccalaureate diplomas and certificates. As announced on July 7th, these students worked nonstop and achieved at the highest levels. Mandela International Magnet School is just one of 2 schools in the state of New Mexico to offer a middle years and diploma program. The students earning their diplomas are Malcolm Ehlers, Gonzalo Alfonso Medina, Alondra Azuria, Luke Thompson, Theo Lee Silverman, Olivia Hogan, Lacia Fiuti, and Zoe Carson. Those were hard names, but obviously they're very smart people. In addition, every student who submitted work this year and earned at least one certificate. These students are Amanda Trujillo, Delphin Peterson, Jace Merriman, Dante Hernandez, Emma Hornig, Arlie Olivas, Esme Heller, Rami Jaggers, Casey Standridge, Martin Gonzalez Sherwood, Miranda Lujan, Sullivan Garfield, and Sebastian Lopez. That's it, President Noble.
Okay, thank you very much. Dr. Gonzalez.
Get my mute off. President Noble, members of the board, and Ms. Sink. What does it compare, the kindergarten enrollment compare this year to last year? Or do you have that information? I don't want to ask you something you don't know.
It's not listed here, but I would tell you that it has been going down every year since I've been here.
Okay.
Tom may have, Dr. Ryan may have some knowledge of it, but, and I'm not sure if Mr. Bernardino is online. We could ask him.
I'm online, Ms. Sink,
Thank you.
and I can respond to that. Board, President Noble, members of the board, the enrollment has declined, and the majority of that is due to the fact of birth counts. For example, in 2015, 2016, our kinder enrollment was 1,033. And the numbers I'm providing is the average of 80th and 120th day. So it fluctuates as time throughout the school year. In school year 2016, 2017, it was 1,021. The following year, 17, 18 is 1,004. The year after that, 18, 19 is 884. And last school year was 927.
Thank you.
Thank you.
On that, it's completely anecdotal, and I know everybody has been totally flat out. I have heard 2 accounts of folks who tried to enroll and were unable. So there's that. This year, you know, obviously we are seeing a decreasing birth rate no matter what, but of course this year is a unique year in its uncertainty. And just to say, I appreciate this update, and that we maybe even think about how to be creative about kindergarten recruitment and, you know, whatever we need to do. But this year is also just, especially given the nature of kindergarten and that online learning is harder for little ones, as we've talked about many, many times in the board meeting, that 2020, when we're in an online environment, is not the year everybody's going to rush to kindergarten.
Right.
And I very much appreciate the update on outdoor space. Just also want to say it is absolutely something that has to be done for each individual school sites. But if and when we do get to in-person, it will be critical that eating and that sort of thing can happen outdoors. So thank you for that.
My only concern, hello?
Go ahead, Vice President.
Hello?
Britt.
Yes, my only concern is leaving doors open to the outdoors from cafeterias. Varmints get in if you don't have screen doors.
Varmints, rodents, bugs. Yes.
Varmints as in squirrels and raccoons and, you know, other 4-legged varmints.
Skunks. Good point. Thank you, Vice President Price.
President Noble, if
Yeah.
I may, I just wanted to know if I could speak to the first day of school as addition to the announcements, or if you would rather I bring that up at another
Please.
point.
No, please bring that up here.
So there were many people that were texting me or emailing me today, because I would just tell you that in my career, I've never been more nervous for this day to be here. And so I know people knew that we were all worrying. In fact, I have instructional coaches that were going in inside out of even first year and second year teachers all over the district, because that's their job, is to work with new teachers. And I got so many amazing texts today that I told Vanessa Romero, Associate Superintendent Romero, I felt like having a good cry because it just felt so good. You know that there were a few things that went wrong with some of the getting on or not being able to get on, but they finally were able to, some difficulty in logging in, especially the younger, the children. But what the kind of things that I heard that everyone was using Canvas and open access. As you recall, last spring, it was so varied. So to hear that everyone they went into was using this platform, I'm sure Dr. Ryan is excited to hear that. Mostly all were taking time to set up routines and procedures. Second year teachers were definitely using the 4-week resources already, which I was surprised. I thought they wouldn't work on those lessons quite yet. One kudo from a new teacher to our district said Santa Fe Public Schools is so organized and on top of everything. Thought that was amazing. Coaches reported much smoother takeoff today than in March, which that was one of our goals. And this is a great thing. Lots of icebreakers being used. So in fact, that's where the social and emotional learning and that whole department in wellness with Sue O'Brien helped teachers with those icebreakers, which is so wonderful to see that they're using. They were going over their syllabus. We had one teacher, her name is Lisa Maestas, I believe, and she was willing, which is amazing. On the first day of school, we got a call from the New Mexico reporter and the New Mexican reporter, and he wanted to attend one of the classes, and he also wanted to talk to the teacher, and he wanted to talk to a student. And I said, well, I'll do my best, but teachers are nervous the first day of school, so I'll see if they'll let you. Sure enough, we had this teacher that said she would do it, from Amy Beal, as I said, Lisa. And she was so fantastic that Vanessa and I wanted her to come and talk to you about her first day, because you're going to hear about her in the paper tomorrow. So we asked Alma tonight, it was just all last minute, but we asked Alma to put her on. If you would like to hear from her, she's ready. And you can hear it straight from the horse's mouth. She teaches first grade. So Elisa, are you on?
Yes, I'm here. Hi guys.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me tonight. So yeah, I just wanted to speak to a few things that I talked to the reporter about today. And the first one just being this idea that I have of imagining my students in, 15 or 20 years doing icebreakers with their work or school setting. And the question of where were you when the COVID pandemic hit? And this idea that they'll be able to say, well, I was in Alyssa Maestas's class, and she actually brought these really cool interactive lessons into my house and got to see my house. I got to see hers. So I just really love that idea. And I think it's really powerful that we're going to be able to help our students and their families through a time like this. So I was excited about that. And I spoke about that to the reporter. And also, I just wanted to say how excited I am that this will change the way that we incorporate technology in classrooms. I'm fairly familiar with technology, but planning for distance learning has upped my game a little bit, right? I've had to learn how to use all of these platforms and be fun and interactive with students on a screen. And so I can't wait for the day that we get to go into the classroom once it's safe to do so, and that I can use these lessons that I've been able to do with my students or plan for. I was part of the curriculum planning team that designed lessons for teachers, and that was a really cool experience also, because I think our district is ahead of the game as far as we planned out these lessons so that teachers would be able to just utilize them and not have to spend the first 2 to 4 weeks planning their own lessons, but really using all of the pieces that they want to use from the lessons we created. So that was great. Another thing I wanted to just add is that the parent communication that has happened, even just in the first day, is so different from what we usually see. Typically, the first day is chaos, right? And I just kind of, the goal is to get everyone home to the right place. Like your bus, you're going with this parent or aunt is picking you up. But today, families were able to get a look at what we do in our classrooms every day, and that was really powerful. And so I asked, one parent just sent me a really kind message. So if you guys don't mind, I'll just read that to you. I asked her if I could share it. And she said, Alyssa, thank you so much. Today was a long anticipated sigh of relief. My son was thrilled to be back in school and came away excited to do it again tomorrow. It took me about 2 minutes to realize he doesn't need me as much as I think he does. And while he's in my living room, he has a wonderful classroom environment of his own. In short, today we both felt like it's all going to be okay. And another person, and I'll just read you one sentence of hers, she said, in my son's word, today was amazing, a different environment and scary for us parents. However, the new learning environment was successful and fun. Thank you for leading the pack on this adventure. And I received about 4 of these text messages, and that was really unique to this year. So I just think that although we're in unprecedented times, it's sort of a sigh of relief to know that families know we're doing our part. And I teach first grade, so I planned all of these really cool lessons today, and I'll be honest, I saw them like jittery and moving around after about 20 minutes. And I thought, okay, my whole group lesson of 35 minutes just isn't gonna work for a while. But luckily I have a supportive principal and team that gets that. You know, we can only expect so much from our littlest learners. And at the end of the day, their social and emotional health and their stamina is most important to us. So it was a successful first day. I really want to thank the whole SFPS team for helping us prepare for this, and it'll change the way we do education, and I hope for the best way. So thank you guys so much.
Thank
you. And thank you for sharing your experience with us. Can I ask, what did you do instead when all of the little ones were getting jittery? Just because, and I actually heard a very balanced reports today, but one of the more negative reports was about first graders who didn't get a chance to get up and move.
Yeah, so I came from teaching end of year second graders to going to beginning of year first graders, right? And that's quite a jump.
Yeah.
So it only took me about 20 minutes to realize that the 3 activities I planned were going to either have to be cut in half or I would have to do away with one completely. So I added in an additional movement break of just like, let's get up, you know, let's do this mindful exercise and those sorts of things. And then after my fun and interactive game, I sort of just said, okay, you did a great job. Let's have a reflection and see each other tomorrow. I didn't want to put an additional activity on them when I already saw the wiggles coming out. So lots of go noodles and exercise. We'll be getting our exercise in.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Anybody else have questions for Ms. Maestas? Thanks again for coming to share your experience with us. And Ms. Sink, I think you and the team and Dr. Garcia, everybody involved, deserve a great deal of praise for how well it did go today. I know, of course, there were many frustrations out there. I had lots of communication all day long and was pretty impressed that it was absolutely equal. I had as many people telling me that they had good experiences as those communicating frustrations. And honestly, in previous years, I have had more negative than positive things, even when we did it just the regular way. So I appreciate that. We had a very good experience, and I do hope, however we are working on this, that we are communicating with teachers that they can and should do exactly what it sounds like Ms. Maestas did, which is adjust on the fly and read the kids, and, you know, particularly those little ones.
And that flexibility has absolutely been told to teachers, and especially the younger they are. And we'll keep communicating that, but anything that you all hear that we need to know, we certainly want to know that.
Thank you. Dr. Gonzalez.
Yes, thank you, President Noble and members of the board. I'd just like to thank Ms. Maestas for her ability to be flexible and to recognize what her students need. And that's really important. And it's usually a very experienced teacher that can evaluate that. And I'm grateful for you and for what you did with your students today. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
And sort of building upon what Ms. Sink said there, I think we also want to encourage families to actively communicate with their teachers. And, you know, we've worked together as a team that is a classroom team, even if it's in a Google classroom rather than in person. And, you know, have ideas, share ideas, make requests, whatever it is. This is really, as Ms. Maestas said, this is changing the way we do education, and we hope for the better in the long run. But it is a marathon, not a sprint. And we've got to work together and depend on each other and be kind and be flexible. And this is probably about as good a time as any to just say thank you to all of the teachers who I think even the perhaps seasoned educational professionals who were nervous about the first day of school, you know, congratulations, take care of yourself, and we'll keep going because the school year just started. Dr. Gonzalez.
Madam President, there was a really nice article in the paper today about a first year teacher starting out this way. And I really applaud that teacher for starting out this way. I think it's when I was a teacher and if I'd had to start out this way, it would probably been a shock. But again, he's coping with it, he's learning, and he's excited about it. And he knows a lot about Santa Fe High School because that's where he went. So I think that was a really nice article.
Agreed. And an interesting take, I thought. Just hadn't thought about the first year teacher who's starting out this way. Yeah. Okay. Any other comments, questions from the board on this? Thank you very much, Ms. Sink. And again, thank you, Ms. Maestas. You are, of course, welcome to stay and watch the fascinating board meeting, but you have a very important job tomorrow, so you might even want to recharge a little bit.
Great, thank you. Yeah, my husband took them outside for as long as he could, and now I hear like little footprints and see people. So
Okay.
I'll probably log out, but I so appreciate all of you, and thank you very much for having me.
Thank you for being here. Really
Yeah,
appreciate it.
bye guys.
Okay, maybe we'll go back on the agenda now. Dr. Ryan, are you ready to tell us if there was any public forum comments?
Board President Noble, members of the board, Ms. Sink, there were no submissions for comments, public comments today, so there's none to present.
Excellent, thank you. Everybody was busy with the first day of school. I also have received a text from Grace Mayer, the head of our largest union, the NEA. So by way of a union update, I'm just going to read what Grace wrote. She said, please congratulate the teachers and staff for making it through the first day of school. The last several weeks of professional development and preparation was intense. They are exceptional professionals that do what it takes to make it happen. And for our community, and for that, our community in Santa Fe should be grateful. It was great to see our smiling students' faces. Thanks to all the parents who assisted their children today. We appreciate the partnership. So I would say that is a pretty good summation of what we should say today. Thank you to all the teachers and to families and everybody who was working through it today. Okay, moving on to our action items. Oh no, I'm sorry, our presentation. Comparison of Santa Fe Public School data to the Latino Decisions Parent Survey on Educational Challenges During a Pandemic. Ms. Sink, are you going to kick this one off, or?
This is presented by famous Dr.
I'm
Ryan.
sorry.
I will just
I'm
give it-
sorry. Would you repeat the title again?
Yes, of course. It's Comparison of Santa Fe Public School Data to Latino Decisions Parent Survey on Educational Challenges During the Pandemic.
Thank you.
And it sounds like we will hear from the very excellent, famous Dr. Ryan, who was also in the paper today, or was that yesterday? I don't know. I see it online.
I think I was representing a team. I cannot tell you how proud I am of the IT team. We've distributed over 3,200 devices in the last 2 weeks, and 500 of them were yesterday because it was a day right before school. The team out there in the sun, out in the rain, actually, a couple days earlier, have done a remarkable job. In fact, one of the parents saw them working so hard, went out to Sonic and bought all of the people out there helping to distribute devices a drink, which was well appreciated. So we really appreciate that. I am going to share my screen and put a presentation. I've been asked to compare some of the data that we have had in our survey. I'm assuming my screen is showing, yes? All right, very good. This is a comparison of the Santa Fe Public School data to the Latinos Decision survey that was provided a few weeks ago to the board, which looked at some of the challenges that our Hispanic families face across the country. And there were some data that was also provided from the state of New Mexico. And moving to just a little demographic about the data that we received. We had over 3,200 surveys that were submitted. This survey was done in May. There were 1,170 parents who responded, 572 elementary schools. So we did 3rd through 5th grade, 945 middle school students, 6th through 12, and another 547 teachers. So we really got a good representation of the students, parents, teachers that we have within the district. In the Latino Decisions survey, or the presentation they gave, they noted, and I just pulled some slides from that board meeting, some of the challenges that kids have that with online teaching. 74% said it's more difficult, that we don't have computers, tablets, or laptops, 50%. Online school work was difficult because of technical problems, such as websites not working, etc., 44%. On the right side, I know this may be hard to read on the screen, but how can schools help your kids catch up and not fall behind? 82% needed more communication and more assignments and feedback on child performance. More in-person time with teachers, 75%, more one-on-one tutoring needed to be provided. In our survey, the Santa Fe Public Schools survey, the response from parents, and I'm going to focus on this. The survey was very long, and I know you're excited to go through every detail, but I'll just give you the highlights. We had 100 parents, and I believe over 75% of our families are Hispanic. So even I also have responses in Spanish, but we had over 100 parents who talked about workload, the challenge of supporting a child and teaching. 37 parents suggested having a daily schedule that would allow them what to do. And as you'll see, we responded to putting a daily schedule up and opportunities, and gave the teachers the flexibility, as you heard, to modify that as we needed with the kids. 42 parents expressed the work was just too easy in the spring, and this is the evaluation from the spring, and wanted higher academic expectations. And then 17 parents said, you know, this is too much work to be expected of kids. So we get both sides of that, but the majority of parents felt the work was too easy last semester. And as Dr. Garcia has said we want a year's worth of growth in a year. For responses that were conducted in Spanish, of which we had 54, 17 of those parents wanted better communication in Spanish. 5 requested a much higher level of work. 9 wanted higher expectations for students. So that tied with the 5 others that wanted more work. 2 comments about they really wanted face-to-face instruction. There were comments both from our Spanish speakers as well as the community as a whole wanting one platform or less platforms instead of having to log into so many. And although I didn't put out a bunch of CUDA, 7 of the responses were just really appreciative of the district and the efforts to support the kids and provide an environment for them to learn, even though we were facing difficult times. We also had 147 comments that were related to communications and expectations. This is the biggest area of improvement that we needed to take on. Teachers needed to be more available for conferences and meetings, more student-teacher contact hours. There wasn't enough last spring. They wanted at least 3 hours a day on average of parent or teacher to student contact, lessons, consistent communication, and this would be expected, a whole new platform, a new way of learning, logins, etc. We just cannot put out enough communication to help people through the change. They wanted a regular class schedule, a uniform platform for which these things, both of which we're doing now. We also had our coaches out in all the schools, and we heard things like, it is night and day from the way it was in the spring to how it is now. Many assignments were missed. Parents were upset or concerned because they didn't know that there was assignment in another application, another reason why we needed to bring it to one platform. And they wanted more opportunity for counselors to be able to reach out to work with both students and parents as they set up these learning environments and supported their children. As you know, we also tied in social emotional health in learning into the beginning. So we really wanted to work on that relationship part in this. Another area where the Latino decisions had some data that was similar to ours were on computer and software needs. Would any of the following help your child in the fall? And that was, one was having a computer device at home. They don't have one. 62% said they didn't. 62% said they did, and 36% said they did not. Would any of the following help keep your children's learning in the fall, such as updated software to be, the software be up to date on the computer the student's using? 75% said yes, 23% no. We also had this question about limited access for internet to many Hispanic families. 28% said they have internet access, but it's through their cell phone. And 21% said they do not have regular access to the internet. And this is a big challenge across the country and in the state. On the other side, for Santa Fe Public Schools, although 96% of our students were able to connect to the remote learning resources last spring, we really are focusing now on the quality of that internet access. As we noticed in the Latino decisions, some of our families were connecting through a cell phone, and that just doesn't give enough bandwidth. When we put out, we purchased 500 Wi-Fi devices, which are that we distributed to families upon request. And we still now have 200 of those available for families. But what we found is some of our families, and we're developing a tool that lets us know what the speed of their internet connection is for every child. And it also lets us know how many people are connecting through that MiFi device. And we're seeing that some families have 3 to 5 people. They don't have that many students, but 3 to 5 people are trying to connect through these cellular Wi-Fi devices. It isn't sufficient to have a Zoom meeting, upload and download content. So the challenge for us now is, how do we provide multiple devices to families if that's appropriate? And we also have some communities that do not have good cellular coverage. So, or the provider, we had one provider in the spring, and maybe that provider doesn't have good coverage in that area. So our challenge now is, how do we make sure that everybody has a good connection? I think when you see our data tool, you're gonna be impressed. It's being designed for us. This slide here just talks a little bit about that computer. Grades PK through second are using Canvas, and getting to Seesaw, which is a video tool to submit videos and back and forth between the teacher and the student, makes that a little easier. We haven't got a really smooth interface, so some of our kids are going straight to the to the Seesaw environment. We hope to get that brought in because we're collecting data on who's accessing, who's not. In 3rd through 12th grade, students get all of their access through open access, and then there's the digital textbooks, the assignments, so communication. All of those resources are available, as well as professional development for our teachers. In the PK through 2, we give all of the, well, actually preschool, pre-K through 1, we give an iPad out. The reason we give an iPad is because the device is smaller and they're not doing keyboarding skills at that age. Once they get into 2nd grade, the teachers want to have them start to use, they're starting to use words and letters, and so the Chromebook is a much more popular item for them and helps them to practice their skills. We also provide, as I stated earlier, a hotspot for anybody that wants one. For the grades 2 through 12, we're providing a Chromebook for every kid. We have some specialty classes that we're having to figure out where they're doing some advanced coding that would be outside of the capability of those Chromebooks, regular type laptops. And if anybody we have multiple ways for you to be able to contact us to get support. That includes 467 help, an email, student help desk at Santa Fe Public Schools that you can email your request in, and we'll contact you. We have now two folks on the help desk that can take calls that are coming in Spanish, and I can tell you that those tools are being well used to communicate with our team and to get those tools working well. Access digital content, and there's a variety of resources that we use. We had a math adoption this year. Ms. Sink's team has digital math books that our students are using. Those are integrated right into the teacher's classroom, so the kids have access to those resources right in the class as opposed to a separate login. We have some significant use of things like Khan Academy. I already mentioned Seesaw. There's over 100 embedded apps that we put into that system to try to bring these resources to the children and to the teachers. I mentioned earlier, we purchased 500 Wi-Fi devices and we still have 200 left. We have the ability the teachers are taking attendance through their synchronous sessions, but we also have the ability to track the IP address for the kids that are using our device. We also have a firewall and a filter that we use to filter from home so that we can reduce the inappropriate access and also monitor the access while they're in their academic program. And students can, as I mentioned earlier, turn in their assignments. We're measuring the assignments, what they turned in, how often they're turning in, how often the teachers are putting up grades. Again, this is part of that custom tool that we're developing to provide our community some data. We have contracted with other cellular providers so that we have, if one provider doesn't work, there might be another option. We are continuing with our partnership with Citi, and I'll go over that in a second. We're also tracking the logins to the various systems, so we know what applications the kids are logging into, how often they're in there, We're monitoring that. We can report on it. As I mentioned, we're developing a tool that identifies the speed of each child, and then the principal will have you'll be able to click on the school. In fact, I'll go over that in a second. We're tracking and monitoring traffic that are going into the locations that we provided extra Wi-Fi, and we'll be able to use these metrics. And again, I think this will be something we can show to our voters who supported ETAN funding that allows us to have this much access and try to remove the burden of technology from the work that teachers have to do. This little screenshot on the right side of the screen of the tool we're developing, you can click the white and blue fans represent the original partnership with the city at Nino Otero, El Camino, Sweeney, Aspen, Kearney, EJ Martinez, Milagro, and Atalaya. We also had this nonprofit group. It's a disaster recovery organization that partnered with us, put another set of these outdoor hotspots or stadium APs, Ramirez Thomas, Ortiz, Amy Beal, El Dorado, and Tesuque. We extended the network at Cesar Chavez. We identified specifically areas like El Dorado and Tesuque, where they're having Atalaya, where they may be having more challenges because of the community to get cellular access, that we wanted to make sure we targeted those areas with the outdoor APs, so you didn't have to drive to these sites to be able to get to access. The city has also done buildings, the Fort Marcy complex, community centers, libraries, downtown plaza, etc., to also provide some internet access. We're expanding it there. We're helping our families with internet essentials, so that's more of a Comcast cable connection. And like I said on this map, the tool that we have, you can click on any one of those squares, which represents a school. All of the students that attend that school's address will show up, and we'll be able to have them color coded on the speed of their internet access, so that the principal could, from their school, be able to identify the kids that have poor access, compare that to their login activity, and we're able then to be able to contact that family to see if we need to work on getting other kinds of support. Like I said, we're also now able to identify there's 3 or 4 people in that family trying to use one hotspot. We also can tell in this tool, is this a T-Mobile or an AT&T or a Verizon or a Comcast connection? So I think this will really help us with the city in trying to look for areas that we might have some weakness. So we're very excited about this tool. We're hoping to have a model to show perhaps by the next board meeting or the one that soon follows after, as we work out the details. Another part of our survey compared us to what the nation, it was the same survey that everyone in the nation was taking. This is a contract that we signed at the beginning of the school year last year. So as part of our contracted service from them. And we scored extremely well. So they graded things like classroom, the 4 C's, I'll go over that just in a second, is competence and content and collaboration, etc. One of the areas that we just show up as emerging, and it's about how do we integrate these into our lessons, but everything else starts to come proficient and advanced. This category, we came out proficient. Digital citizenship, which is more than just following the rules, but how do I relate to other people through these digital tools? Both our students and teachers scored very well. The use of assessment and using digital tools, as well as assistive technology. In the area of access, of course, this is one of our strengths. We were exemplary, highest score as compared to other schools across the country. And that's both for our teachers, our students, primarily because we do provide resources to assure all our kids get there. The third area that one of the other areas was skills. Again, we're in the exemplary or the advanced zone, and we're very close to being at the exemplary. We scored very high across the metrics categories that they were using for that measure, and finally, just the environment. So there's areas in professional learning, and the reason we did, our teachers on the survey were requesting even more professional development. We want more professional development, and how do we integrate? And I'm sure after this last few weeks and bringing everybody up to speed with our online services, they might be saying, okay, uncle, I need some time on my own. So we're very happy that we have some evidence of where we are that's from an outside organization that's doing a national study. This was connected also with the International Society of Technology and Education, which is an international ed tech company or nonprofit supporting where we're going with teaching and learning. I talked a little bit about, and the reason I put this slide in, there has been conversations about screen time, and there's talk that the American Academy of Pediatrics has recommendations, and I've heard things from all over the place. So I thought I would just touch this because they, as well as Common Sense Media, which is a nonprofit, are talking about it isn't really a function of screen time. It's a function of what they're doing on this with the screen time. So as in this article, which I've got a link to, if they're playing zombie duck hunt, that isn't considered a time that's well spent. Not that they shouldn't have some time to have some fun and do some other activities, but if they're engaging with other students in an online format, well, the screen time is important. If they're engaging with their grandparent and their parent, that time is important. If they're engaging in academic learning, if they're reading to the teacher or the teacher's reading to them, that active engaging time is good. And they don't have a recommendation that you should stop it. What they do say is you should be getting up and moving around. You should be having time for 8 hours of sleep. You should have 1 hour of exercise, and you should be focusing your time when you are online on these important aspects of active learning as opposed to passive learning. Passive learning would be like a TV or a video kind of a thing. So connecting with people on a personal level, creating content, having the students be the creators of that, using context that shows how kids fit into the larger world. So that ties into digital literacy, and having critical thinking, having students wrestle with and be challenged by problems and having to figure those out. Those are all important aspects of what you should be doing in screen time. It is exactly what Ms. Sink and her team has put in as they built out this schedule, so that, I mean, I wouldn't want to tell my kid you have to sit in front of a textbook for 8 hours either, for the same reasons that you wouldn't want them to sit in front of a computer screen. But there's a lot of social interaction that they can do, especially if they're locked down because of our coronavirus. We have, and I said there was one area that the teachers have been asking for more and more professional development. I just wanted to give you a link. These are just, if you look at this slide, you'll see there's tabs across the bottom of this spreadsheet. Each day had, in fact, there's literally thousands of hours of professional development that we have done in our community. All of these are recorded so they can come back to it even though they might have missed it on the day they were there. We've got a link here. I'm not going to go to it for time, but we've got a YouTube library of videos that we have created and showing teachers how to engage their students in or use tools that will support the learning. So this is, we've got our digital learning coaches that have partnered, that are at each one of the schools and working with staff on the development and any problems they might have with the instruction. We've got open access classes, we've got training, the technical assistance. Again, the district has had this mission that we've been going over all summer, a year's growth in a year. And technology will fail this mission if we can't provide all of our kids access to high quality teaching learning. And so I just wanted to give you some evidence. I am extremely proud of our teachers and the way they've taken on this challenge. The teaching and learning department, Dr. Garcia's leadership in moving us forward. I might have sounded a little boastful in the newspaper article. I think you lead with confidence. And I am confident in this Santa Fe Public Schools team. This, I think, is the last one. One of the challenges we have, and we're providing professional development for our training for our parents, and resources to help them to build out this quiet spot. The reason I put this on here is 69% of the middle school, high school kids say they have a quiet place to study. 88% of the parents think they do. So there's a little disconnect on, in fact, there's some social media videos of dads bothering their kids while they're trying to go through their lessons online. And so how do we set up an environment at the home to make that as positive as possible? And it's the same thing for us that have to work from home. You need to have a quiet place where the kids aren't running around behind you when you're trying to do the work. So this is another challenge that we're trying to support our parents on. So with that, I'll end my presentation. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ryan. Are there questions from the board? Sarah, is that?
Yes,
Sorry,
that was me.
that was you. That was a hand. Go ahead, Board Member Bose.
President Noble, members of the board, Ms. Sink sitting in for Dr. Garcia. I just wanted to say thank you. It's really great not to just have this comparison of the data, but also to have a little bit more insight about all the work that's being done on the technology side to meet students and family and teachers' needs. And I just want to say how much I appreciate how thorough that is, and you know that you aren't really resting until everyone is participating, and that's valiant, because it's a hard and challenging thing, and I really appreciate that. And I also just wanted to share anecdotally that my husband went last week to pick up our iPad from the technology center, and he came home after getting lost getting there. He was like, that was incredible. Those people running that place are amazing, and everything went so smoothly, and they were so nice and cheerful, and it's so hot, and they're smiling. And so, I mean, between all of the stuff that we've heard tonight, I just feel really proud of the district and the work that's being done. So kudos to everyone. Very much appreciated.
Dr. Gonzalez.
Thank you, President Noble, members of the board. I'd also like to acknowledge all the work Dr. Ryan has done and his team to get ready for the school year. And Dr. Garcia, I know last spring parents wanted more structure, and teachers too wanted more structure. So you all have developed amazing schedules for each grade level. And we all have to be patient and see how this works, and then come back and make any adjustments that may be needed. I know that I've gotten, and we've all gotten emails about the schedule. And, you know, is it going to be too tough for kids? Is it too whatever? But we just need to get in there and try it, and then come back. If it's not working, we'll adjust. And I know that you all will do that, because I know you. Thank you very much for all you do.
Board President, I do have to say that Board Member Gonzalez taught me everything I know. So if anything fails, I gotta blame it on my college. She was one of my professors, and also sat on my dissertation defense.
Now we know.
He was a great student, by the way.
It would be way more shocking if he wasn't, frankly. I want to echo what my fellow board members have said, and you know, I think honestly, what was in the paper, I did find myself thinking, let's have a national comparison, even more than a state level comparison because, and this presentation makes it clear that is where we're playing in large part. And congratulations on that achievement, those rankings. I assume, Dr. Ryan, you think they do a pretty good job at rating districts' proficiency, if you will, in all of those technological realms that we saw you go through?
I think they do a good job. I'm not sure how high the bar is,
Okay.
in the sense that we got a long way to go. And I think if the same assessment happens in 6 months, you're going to see across the country dramatic increase. So when I look at the standards that say we're above the mean, I think the mean is too low. And we still have, and I think our teachers want more. I think our parents want more. And I know that there's challenges and change is hard. I know that this is a difficult process for all of us. I have empathy for my parents. I have 2 daughters that are teachers with kids at home. So I do understand that, but I always also want to make sure that we realize that this wasn't a change that we brought. This is an opportunity that if we didn't have this, we couldn't do anything with our families and our kids. So I'm excited that we have at least the opportunity to have a conversation about, is it too much? Because that's a lot better than I can't get on at all. And so that's important. And also, it's just to stand up with Dr. Garcia's leadership and Ms. Sink has done with our teachers in a 3-month period. To your point, Board President, the transformation that we're trying to take our district through, there is no way we're gonna, I think, as my own personal view, that we're gonna be coming back and saying, okay, you can't use a computer at home anymore, that we're not gonna have one-to-one take home for elementary kids, that we're not gonna allow, we're not worried about internet access anymore. I think you're gonna see parents, teachers expecting that in the future and offering even more. And so we'll be better in January than we are now, and we'll be better next fall than we're gonna grow through this and get better and better as we move forward.
Yes, totally agree. And as Dr. Garcia would say, you know, we are a continuous improvement district, and we appreciate that you keep pushing the bar higher. A couple of questions just about the internet access. I have been talking to lots of community partners. Someone suggested paying, you know, could we or could partners surrounding the schools pay for internet access, particularly that deal you had up there, the $10 a month. And just noting that sometimes even that is a real cost burden for families. Is that something that has been considered?
For President Noble, members of the board, we do pay. We pay all of the Wi-Fi costs for the year. In fact, we are now renegotiating that contract because we feel like it's too slow. And so we're going to double that. And also, if the family has need, we'll pay for the internet essentials. So we do.
Okay, great. And with the city partnership and the hotspots, if you will, Wi-Fi hotspots in parking lots, has there been discussion about, and I think you said this, but I'd love for you to unpack a little bit about covering areas that are short on coverage with the city, and specifically there are some mobile home parks north of Airport Road that I've heard about, the Hopewell Man area in between St. Michael's, St. Francis, and Cerrillos, the Triangle District, as we used to call it, but certain areas, because of course, it's great to have access somewhere, but it's not entirely realistic for folks to sit in their car for the duration of a school day or something like that. So I'm just wondering what the status is on looking at covering locations that are not covered currently.
Yes, President Noble, members of the board, Acting Superintendent Ms. Sink, we are in conversation with the city right now, active conversation. That's where we got the outdoor access points. They've identified 8 mobile home parks I think they're in the process now of contacting the owners of those parks to see if there is something we can do within there. We do have devices that we use. They're the same kind of device that hooks up to the bus that would allow us to have over 100 different individuals on that there might be, those might need to be strategically placed. We can plug them in a location. It's the same as the bus, but you don't need to tie up the bus in a area. And we have another 200 hotspots that we're going to make a targeted communication to those mobile home communities to say, hey, just want to make sure you know. And the tool that we're developing that will give us the bandwidth speed for every single kid will help us to also very surgically target those communities that we're seeing are in need. And there is not a single answer to this problem. So I think, at first we said, let's get the devices out, let's get up to the next problem. And now we're saying, we've got to tackle this and bring it down so that there's a handful of people that we're going to have a very creative way to find access if there's not mobile or cellular or Comcast connectivity. So our team is charged or has taken on, we got to get every kid connected. And and there's going to have to be a lot of different ways to do this.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And I think that's an incredibly important point, that there is not a single solution and you are working with a truly multi-pronged approach. I appreciate that. And would also say it would seem that with some of those wireless hotspots that the district has distributed, that if 4 or 5 people, and I had heard that as well, are trying to get on and use them, that the bandwidth isn't there. And that's not necessarily the intention, but that is an indication that, people need internet access and probably to do work and that sort of thing. So, please let us know if there's anything we can do to help or to push our partners at the City of Santa Fe, because that is, of course, the intersection of economic development and education. And we really do need community solutions.
Board President Noble, I just had an email today from one of our community members who said, is there any way I can help provide more access, a real estate person? And is there something we can do? So this is really a community effort. People that are providing housing, businesses that have access. So we're looking at really coming together as a community, public-private partnerships and the city and county. And I'm just awestruck with the people that want to reach out and make this happen.
It's good to hear, and it does really need to be a community effort. And, as you mentioned as well, we are very fortunate and perhaps, certainly in much better positions and did get a jump on things because of the educational technology note, the ETN, the bond for technology, and we have a renewal of that coming up in 2021, and it is clear that a lot of that funding is being put to very good use, and it's more necessary than ever, because as you say, it doesn't seem like we're going to go back to a world where we turn in devices and don't use technology as much. We're going to use more technology as we go forward, and appreciate your good use of that funding. And, as ever, we need to thank the voters of Santa Fe who have approved those bonds and helped us do better for kids and families, particularly when technology became the way we need to get together and do education. And again, I think it's just worth underlining that things are very, very different now in the fall than they were in the spring, and that this will continue to improve. And I appreciate, again, your point, Dr. Ryan. We'll be better at this in January. We'll be better at this tomorrow, even, and everybody will. So it's quite a journey, and that presentation really did bring some points home about what we're doing right. And it's great to know how much data you have as to where the holes are and how, and are thinking incredibly creatively as to how to plug those in a multi-pronged way, because this is the first equity issue, is just making sure that we have access in a remote learning environment for everyone. Other comments, questions from the board? Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Ryan. Congratulations on all you have achieved, and thank you in advance for continuing to push on this.
Thank you.
We will now move on the agenda to our action items. We have a brief consent agenda tonight. Do any board members want to ask any questions about the consent agenda? And if not, may I have a motion?
I move to accept the consent agenda.
Thank you, Dr. Gonzalez. I'll go ahead and second. Even though I think I just beat board member Bose to it, we'll do a roll call vote on approving the consent agenda. Vice President Price.
Yes.
Dr. Gonzalez.
Yes.
Board member Bose.
Yes.
The president votes yes as well. We have approved the consent agenda. Thank you very much. Now we are moving on to board discussion and possible action. I have two items here. One is item A, community support for distance learning and increasing equity. And I have no additional updates this week. And again, just appreciate Dr. Ryan's presentation, which very much touched upon this subject. Then the second item under board discussion and possible action is community partners presentations. And this is just briefly to let the board know, I think I've mentioned this before, but I've been discussing with Dr. Garcia, bringing community partners to do a brief presentation to the board on what they do and how they are supporting Santa Fe Public School students and teachers in a distance learning environment. So I think we've got a pretty good list of organizations we're going to reach out to, but please, if any of you have an organization you want to make sure is heard from, please send Dr. Garcia an email to make sure we get them an invitation. And Dr. Gonzalez, I think I have a couple that you were interested in, so thank you for those. Any questions or anything about that from the board members?
No, President Noble, but thank you for including those community organizations I've wanted to have present.
Yeah, good, and thank you for focusing on them. Okay, moving on to advanced planning. We have a CRC.
Excuse me.
Go ahead, Vice President Price.
Yeah, I asked that under discussion that the head nurse be asked to speak.
That's right, and my apologies for that being missed.
Vaccinations.
Yep. Thank you for the reminder on that. I can see Ms. Sink making a note. I am also making a note, and we will bring that back at the next board meeting. And my apologies that we didn't have that on this meeting agenda.
And please note, I would like it from the head nurse.
Yes. On vaccination rates.
Yes.
Okay.
Where we stand with our vaccinations in the district.
Okay, we'll make sure that that is on the next agenda. And you may not get these calls, but I did have a robocall about vaccinations either yesterday or the day before, which.
Well, I'm aware of that. I
Okay.
just want to know from her if we are, anyway, I also wanted her to meet the school board members who she has not met yet.
Yes, quite. Thank you. And I was pleased that I got a reminder about vaccinations still being required, even though we're
Oh,
in a
of course.
remote learning environment. I very much appreciated getting that robocall.
Mm-hmm. In order to be registered, they have to be up to date, even if we are doing distance.
Exactly. Okay, we will bring that on the next agenda. Anything else on that item? Did you want to comment, Board Member Bose? Or no? Okay. On advanced planning, we have a CRC meeting on August 26th. And then we have our next meeting, a regular meeting scheduled for September 3rd at 5:30. And we have at this stage a tentative executive session scheduled at 4:30. And we, of course, will update on whether we need that executive session or not. Anything else on advanced planning? Okay, well, thank you very much. I hope everyone can rest up and recharge. Congratulations on the first day of school. It's a marathon, not a sprint. We gotta take care of each other and ourselves. Thank you all very much. We are adjourned.